there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC momentarily, then we'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Just get his thoughts on what's going on with the transfer portal. I think Billy talked to the media on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. I want to thank the folks at Miller Ale House. I had to go do Gator Talk with Sean Kelly and Scott Carter last night. Did that a little bit. That's the first time I've ever been there since they rebuilt the ale house. So it was very nice. Enjoyed it. Jordan Castell and Hayden Hansen were there as players. If you missed it last night in a barn burner, I didn't see any of it, but the Rams beat the 49ers, they don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, 12-6. All field goals, I believe. We'll get JC's thoughts. I'm sure he watched his Rams, but it was a defensive battle. Both offenses struggled, apparently. Gators will play basketball tomorrow at 3:30. So, there's 3 games in this Atlanta tournament. It's not really a tournament. 3 games. We're the second game, so probably starting right at 3:30 probably is not realistic, but we are the second game. Army-Navy's tomorrow. You also have the Heisman Trophy ceremony tomorrow night. And we'll take your questions, calls, and comments right here. Not calls, but texts on the Titan MR text line. And we have a few here while we wait on JC. Finable offense being late. Paul from Pensacola says, Riley Kugel, Mississippi State, Florida plays them on February 11th. They were going to give him an award, but they figured he'd just lose it out of bounds. It's in Stark Vegas anyway. Huh. I guess he's being funny. This is from Daryl. Says, Shane, please don't fire JC up on paying players. Well, we can agree to disagree. All right, we got some YouTube questions here. Baron71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, I hope Jack Pyburn files a lawsuit versus Zach Alberti. The guy listed not one source for those alleged demands, which they are without cited sources and put in print. Well, he is the source. That's what he does. Zach is very close to the players and to the coaches and to the program. He gets a lot of inside scoop. So I don't think he would just make that up. That's just my personal opinion. No, we'll see. As people know, Pyburn is in the portal, has yet to sign with anybody. I don't think there's any way in God's green earth he gets what was reported that he wanted. There's no way. No way. Gator Josh says, Shane, today is National Ice Cream Day. What's your favorite kind? Huh. I'm a chocolate cookies and cream type guy. Oh, there he is. Finable offense. JC is now on the Titan MR hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. And what are we wearing? A Blackhawks hat? Did they win last night?
This would be
Army.
Black Knights of the Hudson. Here, this says it easier. There we go. I've got 2 Army hats, QV. Listen,
JC, how many days would you last if you enrolled to go play fullback for Army? But just think about it. You'd be in a 4-point stance. You'd be getting a lot of dives.
Yeah.
2-yard gains. You may bust one.
I think it'd be harder. It would just be harder to spend a week and go to class at the military.
It's amazing what those guys do. It's truly amazing.
They are absolutely committed, my brother. And, then they get their assignments, and that seems to be like as big as graduation, basically. And when they get their assignments, they either get what they want, they don't get what they want. It's a big deal there. And I was listening to Bryson Daly on the radio this week talk about his experience at West Point, coming from the state of Texas, and, being 11-1 and going through and getting in the infantry. He's going to be an officer in the infantry. That's what he wants to do. So it takes a different kind of person, my man. But, everybody in my family, all the males in my family before my generation were all Army served. They all served in the Army, sergeants, generals, and we had a colonel. So it's just, it's just, that's the way it was in those generations, QB. When your parents grew up, or when my parents grew up, there's a very good chance that most adults served at some point in their life, in one of the branches. And the Army and Navy are more aligned than the Air Force. The Air Force is a little bit different, but the Army and Navy, the experience at Annapolis and the experience at West Point are very similar.
Yeah, I was playing, we've talked about this before on the show, now that you bring it up, having to serve, over there in South Korea, everybody knows I love the South Korean golfer.
You sure do.
Well, Tom Kim, his caddy is Paul Tesori, who played golf at Florida.
Yeah.
And a couple guys that played with him that are in my golf group played with Paul a couple of weeks ago. And he was saying, and they thought they understood him correctly, he's got to win the Olympics the next time, or he has to serve.
Really?
Isn't that nuts?
Well, I guess when you have a nuclear rival that hates you and wants you destroyed, literally about.
I don't see Tom Kim defending anything, though.
Well, the Koreans are a great culture, great people. And, and again, QB, they have a hated enemy literally from here to the Georgia state line. That's how far away it is. And it's a nuclear powerhouse run by a dictator. And it's got to be tough in a way growing up in Seoul, South Korea, but it's a free society, at least in South Korea. And, we get to see these guys compete in sports, which is what we focus on. And they're great golfers. I mean, the men and the women golfers in that country have, I know they're good at other sports, but golf seems to be the one they're best at, QB.
Yeah, they're very good. They are very, very good. Andy had a question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Who makes the playoffs first? Carolina, UNLV, or the Mighty Gators?
Carolina.
Well, UNLV is like, the planets all have to align for UNLV. I mean, Boise, you have to win the Mountain West Conference, but you have to be highly rated to get into the playoffs. That's why Boise there. Yeah. UNLV is way down there.
Yeah.
I saw North Carolina's schedule next year. They do not play Miami. They do not play Clemson. They do not play Louisville.
Yeah.
They got a easy schedule when you look at the ACC. But
what was
I would say the Gators.
So what was your take on Belichick? I didn't get.
Well, my take is he's getting a 5-year deal, guaranteed $50 million, which he does not need the money. But I'm a firm believer he only took that job because in the contract it says that his son will be the next head coach at North Carolina.
Okay. That's what
nepotism deal.
I was thinking you were going to say that because that's exactly how I feel about it. Now, he does say that, hey, man, it's really great to get back to college because that's where he started his career.
No, I didn't think he's ever coached college.
Well, no, I'm sorry. He didn't start his career there. His dad started his career as a college football coach, and he had a dream of always being a college football coach. But the landscape is so different from today to then that it's not the same thing. I was looking at some schedules. You mentioned schedules. Of course, we see the Florida schedule is out. Kind of fun that we're going to have 2 home November games, I think. Tough that you're going to play LSU and Miami back to back. I looked at this schedule. Okay, it is what it is. Same teams from last year mostly. And then I looked at Oregon's schedule, and I looked at some of these Big Ten schedules that came out. And man, that you talk about cakewalk city, boy. Oregon plays 3 road games, I believe, and it's just neither Ohio State or Michigan. Actually, I think Ohio State's on there, but a lot of times it's just it really is amazing how different these schedules are from all these teams. And I thought I saved it. Oh, I did save it. I'm going to read this schedule to you, QB. You tell me if this breeds fear in your heart and soul, even though you probably don't care. We open up with Montana State, Oklahoma State, have a road game at Northwestern. I'll just go down their road games. Rutgers, Northwestern, and Washington. That's Oregon's road games and Penn State. Okay, big deal. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Ohio State. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 home games. So the Oregon Ducks are not going anywhere, folks. They're going to be around. They're going to be around. It's just, I mean, college football.
Well, that's why you'll never see Dan Lanning go to the SEC. He'd be crazy.
Yeah. Why? Why would he? Yeah, I agree. And did you like Mullins' hire to UNLV? Did you like that?
I just think it's bizarre. I think it's weird.
Strange, isn't it?
I don't know why he's leaving Reynolds Plantation.
Yeah.
And
a cushy
TV gig to go coach the Running Rebels. I mean, coaches like to coach. I get it.
Yeah.
But that just didn't make much sense to me. You talk about the schedules. Florida's schedule's difficult. It ain't nowhere near Oklahoma and Arkansas's though.
I've seen those.
Close.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, they're boy, those people.
Yeah.
It's rough. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand.
I mean,
congratulations to the Lady Gator volleyball team. They lost last night to Stanford to end the season, but it was a tremendous year. I actually watched some of that.
Did you?
And
poor Mary. I don't know.
You would look so small if you were to go like to meet and greet with the Lady Gator volleyball team.
I'm 5'8.5".
Well, they're 6'6". 6'6", 6'3", 6 foot.
Yeah, I mean, it's gene power, baby. Gene pool. Tall parents generally equal tall kids. Although
well, it depends on.
You didn't get that.
I'm a firm believer that
you didn't get
that majority of the time, if the dad is tall, the mom is short, and they have a boy, the boy will be shorter. But if he has a girl, the girl will be tall.
Yeah, but you had both.
Yeah, but my daughter's like 5'7".
Okay.
But she's not short.
Okay. No.
She's almost 5'8".
Definitely not short by any means. No. Correct.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah.
Frank wants to know on the Titan Mar text line, who do I like in the ASU UF basketball game? I like the Gators. I think Arizona State's a good team, I believe. Bobby Hurley's their coach. If you're asking us to pick that game on the Peachland Dental picks, I don't know if JC has lines for that game or not. But the Gators are one of the only undefeated teams out there right now. They're playing good football.
And basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's exciting to have this to look forward to, in my opinion. Football ended up well, and I made this point that there's a lot to look forward to going forward in the next 3 or 4 months. The conference that Florida's playing in is the best conference in basketball. I mean, when you look at Tennessee, Auburn, and Alabama, Kentucky, and Ole Miss, and other teams, the Gators, these are all tournament teams. I really think that based on
12 minimum. 12 minimum getting in.
But here's the thing, QB. Once you get to conference play, things kind of I don't know if they even out or balance out, but things change. Your record, sometimes you're just going to go on the road to Vanderbilt and lose. Sometimes you're just going to go on the road to Iowa and lose. Sometimes that's conference play for you. Now, a big game last night, Iowa State is the third-ranked team in the country. I had no idea how good they were. And they went to Carver Hawkeye Arena and bombed the Hawkeyes. So, there's great basketball teams everywhere. I think the year's going to turn out to be really exciting in basketball.
Text from Robert in Fort Myers on the Titan Mar text line. Who has more success, Mullen at Vegas or Belichick at Carolina? I would say Mullen.
Wow.
I'm telling you right now.
What parents wouldn't want their kids to go play for a coach like that, you think?
You're talking about Bill Belichick? Well, first of all, academically, it's a tremendous institution. They have money at that place.
Yeah.
And yes,
they can get players there. I think they can get players.
I just think it's going to be difficult. Now, again, it's the ACC, but I think Vegas, that league out there is pretty much Vegas and Boise. I don't know why Boise doesn't go to like the Big 12.
It might. And see how they do in the playoffs, but look at they're going to be playing Penn State or SMU. I mean, that's a good draw for them, and it's a good draw on the other end of that situation. Whereas Oregon's waiting on Tennessee or Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. They will change the seeding. There is a 100% guarantee they're going to go 1-12 or something like that. They have to. They can't do it this way. That Florida-Arizona State game down in Sunrise, my man, I didn't know. The Florida-Arizona State basketball.
That's in Atlanta, Jason.
Oh, it's in Atlanta? What am I looking at? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't read this right. See, okay, the Score app has the Florida-Arizona State game, and then it talks about FSU and Tulane. Okay, sorry. It's in Atlanta. All right. But I didn't know Arizona State was 8-1. I didn't know they were that good. And there's no line. So I was looking it up because I wanted to see if there was a line.
Hey, JC, you were in the media for many, many years. You went to the
Was.
journalism school. I want to get your thoughts on this because we addressed it before you joined the program late.
Sorry.
Barone said he had a comment here. He hoped that Jack Pyburn files a lawsuit against Zach Alberti because the guy listed no source for those alleged demands, which were cited, but no source was put to print.
Well, okay.
But if Zach has a source or if Zach knows, he can print it out, put it out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, in journalism, the old thing was great journalists. This goes back to Watergate. They never reveal their sources. However, if Zach were to say, sources have told me, that's a very nebulous thing. I mean, it could be true. It could not be true. He's not going to have to tell you what his sources are as a journalist.
Well, here's the thing is what I said earlier. He's got multiple sources because he is an, quote, insider.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And look, Jack wants to sue him. Fine. I think Jack needs to think about finding a team to play for. And apparently he's got a bunch of offers. So
well, he's got teams looking at him, but we don't know about offers.
Okay, better said. That's better said.
Yeah. He'll play for somebody, but he ain't getting the damn offer that was reported by what everybody's asking. There's no way.
Okay.
No way in the world.
I'm starting to believe you. But I think, I do believe you. I'm not starting to, but I just think that I think somebody's going to want a player like that. I mean, you were the guy who came on here and said, hey, man, offensive linemen hate practicing against guys like this because their motor never stops. Didn't you say that?
Yes. Hang on. I was replying. Yeah, he plays hard, but he's limited at what he can do, is what I'm saying. Okay. He's a good player, but he's very limited at certain things.
Yes.
A lot of people think he goes to Texas A&M. He might. They're still not going to pay him what he's asking for. So, Electronics World, integration, design, special smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation, service, and support. Go check them out, electronicsworld.net. All right, somebody here is asking what were his demands. His demands were supposedly $45,000 a month to play on third downs and guarantee him the starting position or something along those lines. I don't have it in front of me, but it was along those lines.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. He's not a Gator, so I'm for one going to let that fly away and go away because
it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it is what it is.
You can't even go to campus anymore. Once you're in the portal, you're out.
What's funny is, well, I'm not even going to say that.
What? You don't want to say what's funny?
Well, Jack went to bowls.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just leave it at that.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, hey, man. I mean,
there's a chance he could come back. I mean, he may see like, man,
here's something.
Give me that. I'll take the $10,000 a month they were going to give me and stay as a Gator. We'll see.
Now, it's hard to say how teams are going to play in some of these secondary bowl games, but one thing I can pretty much tell you is that Tulane has every one of their quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I don't know if
one of them is playing in the game, but he's in the portal.
Right, but he's in the portal. Isn't that odd to you? Don't you think?
But it's very weird to me. Everybody said, "Well, Emory Jones did it." Yeah, I know, but it's stupid because
he's not.
You're not on your team anymore.
No, and you're not even allowed to take classes. Well, anyway, but if you like winning money and you don't mind laying a spread, 14 points will not be enough for Tulane in this game with Florida, assuming Florida shows up and cares. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, Tulane, they're a good team, but a lot of their players are out.
But they have faltered in the last 2 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. They've got missing players. They've got a quarterback nightmare. If Florida shows up and wants to play, they can name the score. That's kind of what I'm saying. And I don't think 14's enough. And if you like money, just go get some. Go get some, everybody. It's Christmas season. You'll have enough money to pay off your credit cards.
Well, it depends on how much money is
blown up for Christmas.
All right, JC, let's get to the Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry, Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. We got one college game, a bunch of NFL.
I'm going to do some NFL. I'll do
We'll
some
have Edgar Thompson in the second portion of today's show to
Edgar.
keep y'all up
Edgar.
to date.
Edgar. So there is some real trash in the NFL. We'll start with the college game before I go to the NFL schedule, because honest God, some of these matchups in the NFL are horrendous, but there are some good games that we will mention. So in college, you got the Army-Navy game, obviously. It's 6.5-point spread. Army is favored. They've got the better record. They've got the conference championship, and you can throw all that out the window. So, it comes down to numbers. You got to look at numbers. 6.5 is a pretty big number in a game traditionally that is close, at least in the last 5-6 years. I mean, everybody's got a favorite here. They either love the Army or they love the Navy. It's all based on family or whatever it is. I don't have a clue. I have no idea. If I was just totally objective about it, I would have to say, give me the 6.5 points. And if I can get it at 7, absolutely take 7. That's a key number. And these games tend to be scored more traditionally to the NFL type of scoring you see, because there's not a whole lot of offense. I think we will see offense. So if anything, QB, I would take the over in this game. I think 38.5 is not high enough, and I think both teams will be in the 20s because of their quarterbacks. Now, I might be wrong. They may win this game 17-13, and that'll be it. Unders win all the time, right? But I'm going to take Army laying 6.5. If it were 7, I would take Navy. But with 6.5, I think we can get that touchdown and cover the game.
I think Army wins the game like 24-10.
Okay, that would be an under and an Army cover.
Yeah. Where are they playing the game this year?
This game is at Landover, Maryland, where the Commanders play.
Okay.
And it's not a traditional location. Let me tell you, I know some folks going to this game, they're not really thrilled about standing outside the dump and off the side of the interstate, thinking they are wishing they were in either Baltimore, Philadelphia, or D.C. So they're not. They're in the middle of it all. Well, D.C.,
they don't play it in D.C.
They have RFK Stadium. I think.
Well, that was what, 25, 30 years ago?
No, I know that. But these folks like being in the city. I mean, the guy I know that's a good friend of mine who's from the Navy, he loved going to Philadelphia. He loves it when the game's in the city because of the restaurants. Anyway, listen, they're going to have to drive, do some traditional tailgating with cars instead of bars, and go to the damn game at the dump. And that's, hopefully Washington Redskins, Commanders / whatever, gets a real stadium in Washington, D.C. one day, because this place is just a nightmare. You played there, QB. Did you like it?
It was the biggest stadium in the league.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
I didn't sit in the stadium. I mean, hell, it had grass. It had 2 goalposts and white lines. That's all we cared about.
All right. Well, yeah.
But it was the biggest in the NFL back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it used to be called FedEx Field, something like that.
Yeah, it sure did. All right, well, let's move on to the
National Football. So in the National Football League, some real trash games, but we'll focus on the games that I think will be competitive, that the league is highlighting. We'll start off with a pretty good game in Texas, where the Dolphins are clinging by the hair of their chinny chin chin to a playoff wild card spot. They're still, believe it or not, in the hunt, but they're playing at Houston, getting 3 points. Houston is coming off a bye week. I don't know. With the Texans, if Nico Collins plays, they're good. If he doesn't play, C.J. Stroud seems to have trouble. They're banged up on defense. They're missing their starting safety who killed Trevor Lawrence. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take Miami with the 3 points. I think Tua will have a hot day. So give me the Dolphins.
I'll take the Texans.
Texans, yeah. I don't blame you. I've been to that stadium. I've seen a game there. It's a great place.
You know what? That stadium has turf and has a goalpost and white lines.
Yes, it does. And it was a very entertaining crowd. It was a very lively crowd that night the Lions were in town. Indianapolis at Denver. This is Bo Nix, who you love Bo Nix. And here he is looking for Rookie of the Year honors. And
he'll win it.
Well, he's going to be in the running, but he probably won't win it. That'll probably go to Jaden Daniels. But Denver's laying 4.5. What do you think there? I like Denver.
Yeah, I'll take the Broncos. They're pretty good defensively, man.
They're salty on defense. And they were also off last week. I think the Colts were as well. All right, then we have a game on Sunday night. Green Bay at Seattle. Now, there's been a lot of history between the Packers and the Seahawks. Typically, it's always gone Seattle's way. The officials always had controversial calls in this game. It's always ended up real funky. Seattle's getting 2.5. The Seahawks had best win because if they don't, the LA Rams would be leading the NFC West if the Seahawks lose, because the Rams win a tiebreaker in that scenario between the two if they have the same record. And with the Rams beating the 49ers in what could only be described as one of the worst football games you will ever watch, the Rams took it 12-6 and have an 8-6 record in the West. The Niners are 6-8. Cardinals are, I think, 7-6 or 6-7, 6-7, and Seattle's 8-6. It's a sticky division. I think Green Bay is going to win this game this time. I like Jordan Love. Give me the Packers.
Who's playing the Seahawks?
Packers. Jordan
Oh, I
Love.
thought you just told me the damn Cardinals were.
Cardinals are in that division with the
So the
Rams.
Packers are at Seattle.
Yeah.
JC. I got so much going on here. Boy, Seattle's playing good football at home. I couldn't even tell you who their coach is.
Mike McDonald.
Yeah, from the Ravens.
Yes, my defensive coordinator for the. Listen,
I'm going to take the home. I'm going to take the home team.
Yeah.
I'll take the Hawks.
No, they're the hot team. There's no question. But Green Bay's tough on the road. They get those white uniforms. They're tough. All right, then the two highlighted games. You can pick either one that you think is better. I think these are the two games that are worth watching. We'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers at Lincoln Financial to face the Eagles. And both teams healthy. The Eagles hate each other. They don't like to talk to each other. The Steelers never lose as a 5-point underdog. At least Mike Tomlin doesn't. So that's the Steelers. It's hard, but they're not going to have George Pickens. And the Eagles are hot, but I'm going to take the points and go with the black and gold.
I'll take the Eagles at home.
Okay. Everybody hates each other on the Eagles. A.J. Brown doesn't like Hurts. Hurts doesn't like this guy.
Why do you know that?
That's what they say in the media.
Oh,
I read the media. And then the big game that I think would
Sal Palantonio tell you that?
Sal Palantonio. Uncle Sal. Then the game that I think everybody's talking about, Bills coming off a tough loss at L.A., traveling to the Lions. Ford Field, Detroit's 2.5-point favorites are getting healthier on defense. But Buffalo's got the MVP. He's got the MVP QB. Josh Allen is the MVP. I don't care.
Who are they playing?
The Lions.
That's this week?
It's on Sunday. Yeah.
I hope it's a Sunday night game.
Well, that's the Seattle Green Bay game.
Oh, it's going to be the 4:25 game then.
It is. Yes. You're going to have three great ones to watch. You can forget about the rest of the league. You're going to have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh in the first game. I'm sorry, that's not true.
I won't get to see much of the first.
So they're both playing. The two best games are both on at 4:25. The Lions and Bills. I guess that would be the CBS game, and the Steelers and the Eagles will be the Fox game, or it's vice versa. Either way, who cares? It's on.
I'm going to take Detroit's beat up.
Well, they're getting healthier though. That's been the reports.
Where's the game being played, JC?
Ford Field.
And it's a 3-point game.
Josh Allen can run up and down the field on these guys. It's 2.5. Detroit's laying 2.5.
I'm gonna take Motown boys.
Okay, and I'll just be different and take Buffalo, because really, to me, it's a coin flip. The Bills, listen, they're going to win their division, but they're playing right now for seeding, and they'd like to have a home game in Buffalo. So, I think catching the Chiefs might not happen now. They're 2 games behind the Chiefs, although they did beat the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs could lose 2 games, maybe. But Buffalo with 3 losses doesn't need to go to 4 losses. I think there'll be some desperation, and defensively, they're going to play better. So give me the Bills. Give me the Bills. Although I like the Lions too. This is a tough one for me. But
this is the game that Steve Palazzolo talked about. Yes. He thinks it might be the Super Bowl matchup. So, Yeah. All right. Text on the Titan Mar text line before we get you out of here. Paul says, Shane, would you ask JC to wear his Marine Corps hat one day?
Yeah, if just give me a team. I mean, if they've got a team on the field, I'll wear it. I love the Marine Corps.
Do you have that hat?
Well, let's just call that the Navy, because that's a division of the Navy, right? So I could just say Navy, but God bless the Marines. First one's in. But I Army Navy is. You're going to watch it, right? I'm going to watch it.
I'll watch some of it once I get home from what time's that game?
3:30, 3:45.
Oh, yeah, I'll be home by then. Brad says real quick on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mal, any thoughts on Tiger and Charlie now playing in the RNC tournament?
I mean, father-son, right? It's a father-son.
Well, no, I think it's got it's not just father-son. I think it's got some females in it as well. I don't follow those tournaments do nothing for me.
I did that once in December in 2003 at the Office Depot Challenge, the father-son challenge. I got to play with Johnny Miller and Lee Trevino down at Champions Gate in Orlando at the links on the links course there. It was a real experience I'll never forget, playing with Lee Trevino. 18 holes, got to spend the whole day in the Pro-Am. Johnny Miller told me to take a bow when I almost chipped in on 18. He said, take a bow. They're clapping. So I did. Felt like
all
a
right,
pro.
JC. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too, QB. I know you're.
I got to get to Edgar.
But wait, before you get to Edgar,
we're just rambling. There's nothing to talk about.
Before you get to Edgar, well, people, that's why they tune in to hear us ramble. But before you turn off, or I turn off, what will your number be today at the golf course?
I haven't been playing well, but I've been winning. That's the key, Jason.
I'm gonna say your total will be 82.
Oh, I will take the under all day long.
Will you? Okay. And
You see, I had a hole out on 18 last week.
Wow.
That was for a lot of cash.
A lot of cash. Well, isn't the Gator open this weekend? I think it is.
Yeah, we'll be at Adena Saturday and
Oh
Sunday.
man, that's great. Adena.
You're welcome to come tee it up anytime you want.
I love Adena. Yeah, I might do that.
So how much do I have on the 82? Let's go 500 on the under.
500. I don't have that kind of money. That's crazy money, QB.
Okay.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll text you after you get done with Edgar. All right.
All right. That's JC joining us on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll be right back with Edgar Thompson. We'll actually talk something that's not nonsense with him. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Security System Studios. We'll be right back. Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security System, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Unleash the Inferno.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Good morning, Edgar. Edgar's going out hiking or skiing today.
It's freezing.
It's going to be a beautiful day to play
How
golf.
How old's your house?
My house is, that's a great question. It's probably, what year are we in? 2024? It's probably 15 years old.
This house is built in 61, maybe.
Oh, yeah. You probably got some.
I have jalousie windows. I got no insulation. It can be beautiful outside, but if it was cold the night before, you're sitting in your house freezing, you walk outside, you're like, man, it's nice out.
Yeah. All right, Edgar, we've had a bunch of people, we have a question here for you being a journalist. I asked JC,
Yeah.
but he's no longer a journalist, and he gave me the old journalism school line. Michael's question is, ask Edgar about the whole journalistic integrity issue when it comes to inside sources and when it's appropriate to reveal a source. Basically, some listeners here have talked about that Pyburn
Mm-hmm.
should sue Zach Albaverdi because he doesn't have a
What?
source and all that stuff. And I said, look, I don't know how all that works. I just know Zach has a lot of sources inside with the team and coaches and stuff like that. So give us the way you guys are supposed to do business.
So what's the specific question? If you can use anonymous sources?
Well, I guess he's saying one gentleman, I'd have to go back through all
You should really have, I mean, my opinion, you should have two people.
Right, but do you have to say
You can't just have one person telling you something and be like, oh, okay, cool, and report it.
right? But I guess what he's saying, he says he should post who his sources are. You cannot do that, right?
You're not going to keep those sources for long.
Right, if you do
So
that.
when I was doing the NFL, before I started doing the NFL for the Palm Beach Post back in 07, 8, 9, 10, I mean, that was a long time ago now. But I mean, I came from a paper in Albuquerque. You could not use an anonymous source. It was like, we're talking the 90s. And my editor was a Northwestern graduate, very talented guy. He actually just retired at like almost age 70 from the Dallas Morning News. This guy's very good. He wouldn't allow them. I think we used an anonymous source in my 12 years once. And it was like you had to confirm it with like 5 people. It was like a hiring of a coach, maybe it's Fran Fraschilla, in fact, years ago. That's how vigilant we were. It has become very like laissez-faire since then. And people, once you got to the NFL, the agents, for example, they don't want their name out there. If you talk to, Joel Siegel, for example, he doesn't want his name out there with a contract negotiation. Rosenhaus or whatever. These guys do not want to be quoted. Now, they might go on TV and say some stuff, but they don't want to be quoted in newspapers. They feel like it's bad form. So that was that world. But now, if you have people in inside the building, as you say, or whatever, you better know that information's good if you're going to do it. And that's the thing. So look, Monday morning, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff, not about Pyburn, other players. This guy's entering the portal. That guy's entering the portal. I'm not comfortable personally putting that stuff out there. That's just me. I'm older. It's a different, I come from this school of journalism I just told you, back in the 90s, even at the NFL level, it's like you better have the person who knows exactly what's going on. I'm just not going to throw stuff out there myself. And I'm not saying that's what Zach's doing. I'm not commenting on this Pyburn thing. My comfort level. So the 2 guys I was told entering the portal, they haven't entered the portal yet. So what if I put it out Monday? Now I think they might be negotiating. They might end up entering the portal, these 2 young men. But what if I'd put that out Monday and here we are Friday and you're like, yeah, didn't you say blah, blah was entering the portal? What's it worth?
Yeah, but basically is, even if you do have information and you post it, you're not going to say my sources are this guy, this guy. I mean, you just can't do that because you never get scoop ever again.
Well, yeah, like you're putting back to the NFL, like Joel Siegel saying blah, blah. I used to talk to him, for example. I don't think he's watching your podcast. And he's like, he wouldn't have been happy. And then his phone, he's never answering your call again, your text. So, yeah, if you're talking to someone in that building, ex-coach or player, analyst, and you're quoting him on Gators Online. I don't think, that might be the last time you talked to him.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
in terms of this Pyburn story, it's unfortunate how this is unfolded from his perspective, the players, because what if he wants to stay with the Gators? Everyone's going to presume his terms were met.
Right.
But were they? Did they talk him into different terms? Were those the terms? Were those the proposed terms? It just, so now it's almost like, can he come? He can come back, of course, but what do you think on that point? If he comes
I think
back
there's
and
always-
plays, it looks like he's getting X amount and these demands, alleged demands are met.
Yeah, look, here's the deal. It doesn't matter what any of us think, right? You know, I think the alleged dollar amounts were just ridiculous. If he gets that somewhere,
Well, I heard that's what it was. I've heard from more than, before even Zach's report, I was hearing from two different people that he wanted in that ballpark.
well, if he gets it, great, congratulations. It's you know, but people have to remember, we have a pay structure pretty much. They have an allotment of money that is towards NIL and paying certain positions on the football team, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, your guys that score touchdowns are going to make more than the other ones, just like in the National Football League, unless you have a tremendous left tackle or you have a great guy who can affect the game as a pass rusher. We don't have that guy. Okay. But it's not like Billy just can say, okay, we're going to pay you this. Well, now they're screwed another position. So look, trust your coaches on the paying portion of it. They have a plan, and whatever happens, happens. So anyway, let's move on.
Well, I do have a question. So slotted. Okay, let's slot it.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're doing. They're slotting
Mhm.
the positions. Sorry about that. I had to answer that. Where's Pyburn rank on the pecking order of the edge guys? Sapp is ahead of him. Gums probably ahead of him. I think they're both probably coming back. I'm hearing Sapp for sure is coming back. That's what I hear. I mean, what's he going to go to the NFL? I mean, I don't know. Is he draftable yet? I mean, maybe like, I just don't know what his grade would be. Gums, I mean, Gums needs to show more. So Pyburn isn't ahead of those two. And where's he stand with Searcy? I mean, Searcy's leverage increases if that's I mean, Searcy isn't maybe as productive as Pyburn yet, but man, you're watching him at FSU dropping into coverage. He's 6'5", he's very athletic. So what I'm saying is, can you afford X amount, pretty high dollar value for your third, fourth edge guy? No offense to Jack Pyburn, he's very productive and stuff, but he had as a tackler, but he had 2 sacks. And I think, Shane, I haven't looked at it, but someone was telling me he has 20 solo tackles. So he is getting to the action, but is he initiating it? If you're averaging 2 solo tackles a game and have 2 sacks over the course of a season, that's not a resume demanding the numbers we're hearing.
Again, you got to trust your coaching staff and their evaluation. And who knows, maybe there's somebody that is a dynamic pass rusher that can play on third downs, that can drop into coverage that they're looking at in the portal. We don't know. So,
well, what do you think of what they have on the edge? I guess is my question.
I honestly have not watched. I mean, I've watched the games, but I haven't studied us. I still think we're very limited defensively. I know we've played better the last 3 or 4 weeks, but I still think we're not where Florida, from an athletic standpoint at every position, we're not where Florida used to be defensively, in my opinion.
I was in the football office yesterday. Just, I got back like in that area for something and walked by, and Mike Peterson and Brandon Spikes are sitting in one of the rooms in Mike Peterson's office. And I walked by and then I kind of backtracked and said, man, it's a pretty impressive room here. I mean, they're not guys like that on this team.
No.
Right? There's no Mike Peterson or Brandon Spikes on this team right now.
No, there's nobody on the defense, in my opinion, that played the last 3 or 4 games that are first or second or third round draft picks.
You don't think Caleb Banks could play himself into like
I mean, I think we look at him how he played, but again, there's so many players across the country. That's what I tell everybody. You'll turn on an NFL game and there's this guy dominating, and he's from Norfolk State, right?
Sure.
They find them. They find
do.
them. Edgar,
That
leading
shocked
up-
me even more in the NBA. Like you see guys, you're like, who's this guy? Never heard
Yeah.
of him. And he's like from
yes.
wherever.
And I hope those guys. I hope those guys develop into first, second, or third round draft
I
picks.
think Caleb Banks has potential to be a second day guy for sure. Cam Jackson's quite good.
Yeah. I mean, those guys, I think they can play in the NFL. I don't know how high they will be drafted, but I think they'd be good backups at least.
Well, it was smart for Caleb to come back.
Yeah. Looking at this game next week, Edgar, against Tulane, obviously
Mhm.
Tulane's kind of struggled the last couple of weeks, losing a bunch of players in the portal. I mean, it's a game the Gators have to win. When you say, I mean, I don't know if you say that very often about bowl games, but you got the momentum. You need to carry it over to the all season, right?
There's no doubt. And you ended on a 4-game winning streak, first one under Billy. They had a 3-game, I think his first year, was it? Maybe his second year. They had a 3-game winning streak. I mean, that's hard to like believe. They've never won more than 3 games in a row at Florida. But that's where the program's at. The inconsistency's been the real killer with this team, with this program. And now it has some, it appears. At Tulane, man, they're playing this guy Ty Thompson at quarterback. It didn't even sound like he might play. He's a former fairly big time guy recruiting wise, but I was looking at his stats, 6 of 11, 2 touchdown passes, 74 yards this year. That's all that kid's done. The quarterback entering the portal is kind of crazy. Right? It's like he enters the portal on Sunday after they get the ball assignment. He's already at Duke. And then Duke's quarterback's left for wherever. And this kid was the number 9 quarterback prospect in the country, Ty Thompson, years ago. 6'4", 224, he runs it. I'm not saying, but he hasn't played any. So I guess he's somewhat dynamic, but I can't imagine Florida isn't gonna. It would be a real, what are they, 12.5-point favorites? Is that what it is?
I haven't seen it.
That's what I heard.
JC mentioned something about it, but I had so much going on.
I would be stunned
paying
if they don't
attention.
win this game. Gary Smith, who used to work at Gator Bait. Do you remember him? Marty Cohen and Gary Smith. He covers Tulane and has for years. And he's supposed to call me a little later, but he said, man, he thinks Tulane's barely going to score.
Yeah, they lost. I mean, when you lose your quarterbacks, it's an issue. Florida Crackers, the brand for original Floridians, great food and Southern hospitality in the center of the University of Brooksville, Florida, floridacracker.com. Make sure Gator fans, if you're heading south on 75, headed to the game, stop by and check out Florida Cracker there for sure. Before we get you out of here, Edgar, Andy's question for you on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. How is long snapper Gannon Burt, I don't know who he is, named freshman all SEC, only playing in 2 games, yet Lagway was not on the team?
You got me.
Well,
That's all I can say to that.
I'll chime in. I don't know how they rate it, but maybe the Gannon kid was the only freshman long snapper that played.
Likely.
And then the other freshman quarterback, however, he was a redshirt freshman, was Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, who played in pretty much all their games, right?
He was phenomenal, but
Yeah.
DJ, the kid who transferred from Tulane was a freshman. Mensa. True.
Yeah, but
redshirt freshman, I think.
but he's not this was an all SEC freshman.
Well, no, but I'm saying he was a redshirt freshman. That big difference, though. True freshman
Yeah.
coming in and doing what DJ did versus a redshirt guy, totally different. I mean, yeah, that whole year just makes a huge difference, as you well know.
Yeah, for sure. Edgar, you been following the basketball team at all?
Sure. They're 7th in the CBS net, and Arizona State's 8-1. They play tomorrow at 3:30. That should be a pretty interesting game. They Arizona State shoots the three really well if they get going. It's Bobby Hurley's the coach. He's had some ups and downs there, but he has a good team. It should be interesting. It'll be a good test, but number 9 in the nation, first top 10 ranking since that preseason when they had Blackshear. Remember that team? All the hype around that team and didn't do anything. But this team seems to be very legitimate. We're going to learn a lot about it, I think, these next several days with Arizona State and North Carolina, which is struggling but still talented. That's 2 legitimate non-conference games there.
Brian's question regarding basketball, Edgar, any word on the Todd Golden situation? I know this is all under investigation. Just curious if there's an update at all.
We've been waiting for a resolution on this for a while. I can't really say a whole lot because I could be wrong, but this thing's going to wrap up here. We've been expecting it to be wrapped up for a bit. It just keeps kind of dragging on. Part of it is you have an interim president. There's a lot of, it's just the administrative apparatus is not like what it normally would be if you have a non-interim president. So I don't know what's going on with it. It's certainly dragged on farther than I thought it would. But, big game tomorrow for them. I'm curious about that one. That's going to be, because a lot of these non-conference games haven't been very exciting. But Florida's winning by like an average of 20-some points. And Walter Clayton, I was saying to someone the other day, he's going to make one of the All-American teams, I believe. I mean, AP does first, second, and third team, and that's pretty high status to make any of them. But he's looking like he's going to be pushing for a spot on one of those teams.
Yeah, he's a stud. All right, before we get you out of here, Joseph's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon. Where's Edgar at right now with the Gator football team? Is he feeling any more optimistic about the future under Billy Napier?
Yeah, for sure. I look, it's been unbelievable how he stayed the course and kind of maintained calm through all this. So I sat down with Billy yesterday for a while, and I'm going to write this before the bowl game, but I guess I can talk about it for a sec here now. And that was the whole theme. I kind of talked about like, what were you thinking after this Texas A&M game? What was going through your mind? There's this photo of he and his wife on the field. I don't know if you've seen it. It's kind of made the rounds. He said a number of people sent it to him even, where he's got his arm around her and she just looks sad. And he's kind of kissing her on the top of the head. And I'm like, what's going through your mind at this point? He couldn't remember the moment particularly, but he just basically said, you have to just admit to yourself, it's what we're doing is not working. And he was shocked. He thought he had a much better team, much better program in place, all the systems in place, talent, everything. He thought he had it. And you get just dragged, by Texas A&M with a first-year coach. You're down 20-0 at halftime. I think it was a real reality check. And, Tennessee wasn't, good, obviously. There were a few different times where it looked like it was over. I told him straight up, I said, Billy, I almost feel guilty telling you, so we all wrote you off. Everyone wrote you off. But he somehow is maintained. Now, he's got to build on this. I think a year from now, Shane, I feel like they have to be a team we're talking about. Now, he wouldn't go here, but that at least you're talking as like the South Carolina, Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss bucket of last 4 out. They have to at least kind of be pushing toward that, or it just, right? You got 12-team playoff. You have to be in that conversation in November of 2025, I believe, if you're Florida.
Agree. Amy says, during your conversation, did you ask why he doesn't ever go 4 wides?
Yeah.
Nobody still asked that question.
Why can't you ask him?
I don't talk to him very often. I see him like on game day. That's not the time to ask him.
I know, but you have better access to Billy.
I know, but that's the only time I see Billy is on game day briefly for about 2 minutes. Could you imagine Billy, walking on the field after getting off the bus? Hey, coach, come here. Why in the hell do you never go 4 wides before a game? That's not the time to do it. But
no, it's not. But well, anyway, I did not. We talked more about the big picture than like particulars like that. But yeah. Look, Billy is very likable. He's a respectful guy. I walked in, I said, how much time you got? Because his day was already behind. It was already running late. He had much time as you need. I'm like, well, you don't want to give me that. But we talked for like 30 minutes. He's just
He's
a
a good dude.
respectful gentleman. And you know, you can't, you're not it's hard to pull against a guy like that. And he has
Agreed.
saved himself for another year. But again, now he's got to make something of it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Edgar, appreciate your time. Bundle up. Maybe we'll take a little what do they call, what are those we'll take up some money to get you a nice heater next to your desk while you're
My
working.
house is fine. I just look, when you don't have hair, you get cold. Go shave your head and go play golf today and tell me how cold you get.
Well, I would
tried-
wear one of those. I'd wear a beanie for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out there and hit some balls today. So have a good time out there.
All right, Edgar, have a good weekend. Appreciate your time, my friend.
It always goes fast. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health